I want to talk a little bit about the return of the 3 prisoners, or in some reports, hostages from Iran. I sent a letter on January the 29th that asked 2 or 3 questions on this topic. Have you seen that letter yet?
Not sure I have. No, I haven't seen it.
Who in your staff would you like me to give it to?
If you give it to Julia, I feel that'd be great.
You know, when you were in the Senate, you probably would hope that you'd
But
get
giving it to me now,
get a response quicker than a month to a letter, though I would say you're so far, you still haven't caught up with Tom Wheeler at the FCC, who actually never answers letters. If they did, it might actually be easier to get people confirmed. And you were here long enough and understand this system as well as anybody. It would be helpful if you could be more responsive. But let's just see what we could discover about that letter right now. What the letter really questions is the story that was told when the 3 people were, thank goodness, returned to the country and their families. But it happened, the transfer of money happened the day after people came back. The Iranians contend that was, at least an Iranian general has contended in a Newsweek article, that was clearly, the 2 things were absolutely related. Is that true?
No. We've been negotiating the claim settlement for years, literally, and it was negotiated on a separate track. Now, whether they in their minds thought this was a propitious moment to try to settle it, that's in their mind, not ours. We made it clear to them. It had to be done on a separate track. It had to be completely separate. We weren't going to tie it in, and we reached one agreement before we reached the other. So the answer.
Well, it is amazingly coincidental that after 35 years of negotiating this difference of opinion, that the 2 things would happen within 24 hours of each other. But that's not my question. My question is, the $400, this was about $400 million plus interest that was part of a past contentious issue with the Iranians. The Congress told the administration, actually passed a law that President Clinton had signed in 2000, that $400 million would go to specific victims of Iranian terrorism who received that amount of money. Did they receive it from that account or not? The law said...
No, they wouldn't have received, I don't believe they'd have received it from that account. I know there were settlements. There were a number of claims that were settled through the years, both ways, by the way. The Iranians settled some claims towards us. In this claims process, excuse me, was set up in 1981, I think, right after Ronald Reagan came in. It was or even under Carter, the process, but it was set up right around there.
So the Congress in 2000 that passed a law that said that $400 million won't belong to the Iranians any longer, it will belong to the victims. That wouldn't have superseded whatever else was happening internationally?
Senator, I was told in the process, we were very, very clear about this, and I think Secretary Lew can answer this very, very directly. This was the fund that had been kept in place, that the money, the $400 million, was there. In fact, there was a little more in there, and I can't remember why there was more. So there's a cushion. The 400 went out, but there's still a cushion of some money that was there for any remaining claims, but almost all claims have been cleared up. So that's why it was deemed appropriate to lower that particular account, because there weren't any extant claims that would have amounted to the amount that was being left in the account.
Well, there's a Newsweek article that indicates, and I know Newsweek's online now, but I just read the article. There's a Newsweek article that indicates the families, the specific families mentioned in the 2000 law, were all led to believe that the money they got was money that was Iranian money, not taxpayers' money. So you're saying today that they
no,
must
I'm
have
not.
gotten...
I'm saying I think that is accurate. I think they got Iranian money. I think the taxpayer money fund is what stayed in that in the fund over the period of time. When we were examining how we could do what we were trying to do to settle the claim over a period of time, and by the way, it was separate negotiators, completely separate team negotiating this in a separate track over a long period of time, by the way. This predated anything to do with this. I think one of the reasons why it came to a head simultaneously is frankly because we had the JCPOA done, and there was a channel of communication, which we've never had before. We've never had a high-level channel of communication. And part of the exchange of people actually was being done through their Ministry of Interior.
It is
and
very
we've
coincidental. Would you expect?
We've never talked to their Ministry of
Would
Interior
you expect
before.
of that $1.7 billion, the first of more money that would go to will go to the Iranians under the agreement, would you expect any of that $1.7 billion to go to terrorist organizations or terror sponsoring
Expect it
organizations?
to? No. Might it? I mean, I can't answer a hypothetical like that.
Well, I think you did answer that earlier.
Well, what I said was, with respect to all of the money going to Iran, which, by the way, is way below, we should go into a classified session and we can give you the exact figures. But, people have talked about the 100, 150. No, folks, nowhere near. It's not even up to the 50 yet that we talked about. And so our judgment is that we've always said this publicly, that there were enormous demands in Iran for that money in terms of their energy sector, their infrastructure, their banking, paying off notes, everything. So my recommendation, Senator, is in classified session, we can really inform you as to what we're seeing today, and I think you'll be very surprised.
Well, I'm on the Intel Committee, and we have had some of that discussion, and we'll have more with you. Thank you, Chairman.